Now that they've been dumped out of the Champions League after conceding 7 goals over the course of the two-legged encounter with Bayern Munich, questions are being asked whether Frank Lampard is the right man to guide Chelsea in the long run. Indeed, the club legend has been talked up as a great manager of the future, but there are still a lot of areas that the Englishman needs to work on. Last year, when he nearly guided Derby to Premier League promotion in what was his first ever managerial role, Lampard showed that he has the tactical acumen and understanding to go far in this role. Once Maurizio Sarri left for Juventus, Chelsea sought to bring their former midfielder back to Stamford Bridge. The backdrop of the return was that the Blues had been slapped with a transfer market ban, had just said goodbye to star player Eden Hazard, and did not have enough options within the squad. If you ask us, Lampard's task was not an easy one, and you could sympathise with Lampard based on the challenge that lay ahead of him. During the pre-season, it became evident that Lampard would be forced to make do with what he had. The opening day walloping at the hands of Man United didn't help either, but hey, every new manager has to start somewhere, right? Let's take a look at both sides of Lampard's first year as a Premier League manager before deducing whether he's going to be spared by Roman Abramovich, a club owner notorious for changing managers at quite a worrying speed. Getting the best out of Christian Pulisic. We all knew that Pulisic was a star in the making the moment he was snapped up by Chelsea. The young American was signed to the club when Sarri was still in charge before being sent back to Borussia Dortmund for a brief loan spell. A lot was expected out of the youngster, who was believed to be a direct replacement for Hazard. The winger started brilliantly, but after some time faded away. He was dropped onto the bench, but once he made his first start in nearly 2 months against Burnley and celebrated it with a hat-trick, it became clear that the youngster was the real deal. Indeed, there was talk about sending the player on loan in January, but Lampard held firm and his patience eventually paid off. In the last few weeks of the season, Pulisic has been the club's best player, and his absence from the game against Bayern was felt badly. Putting faith in the youth system. For a number of years, we've been seeing that Chelsea's youth programme is as good as they come. The club has produced a lot of good players. Sadly though, a lot of these players eventually leave for pastures new, given the club's insistence on signing tried and tested players. But last summer's transfer ban meant that Lampard had no other option but to rely on the younger players. Perhaps a ban wasn't such a bad thing, and the likes of Mason Mount, Reece James, Fiyako Tomori, Billy Gilmour and Tammy Abraham shone throughout the campaign. These youngsters form the core of everything Lampard wants to build, and it's clear that the club's current manager knows how to get the best out of the younger lot. Champions League qualification. It could have been a completely different topic had Lampard failed to secure a Champions League spot for Chelsea. While the club's hierarchy might have been okay with the club not winning any trophy, absence from the competition could have had a bad impact on the manager's standing. Chelsea need the Champions League badly, just like every other club in this situation. The season was a transitional one, and although they did relinquish the third spot, a 4th place finish isn't bad at all. More than that, Chelsea did well to navigate from a tricky Champions League group this season, and Lampard's tactical know-how was crucial for that. Indeed, some may even say that Lampard has done well beyond expectations, and his first season as a Chelsea manager should be seen as a big success. However, we do need to look at a few red flags here, because there are a few. Losing in big games. While the recently concluded campaign was a good one, things weren't always that great. After crashing out of the Champions League in abysmal fashion, it's become clear that the Blues are not good enough in the big games. And this isn't an isolated incident. Lampard has struggled to get the best out of his team against the Big Six of the Premier League. Chelsea played this so-called Premier League duopoly 15 times this season and only won 6 times. 8 defeats included 2 against Manchester United and Liverpool, and of course the FA Cup final against Arsenal, which many expected Chelsea to win. It's clear that Lampard as a manager really needs to work hard if he's to consistently deliver against the big teams in England and beyond. Issues in the final third. Had Chelsea been more clinical in front of goal, they might have at least given something to what was eventually a one-horse race for the Premier League crown. The Blues scored 69 goals in the league, but either lost or dropped points because of their wastefulness in front of goal. The Blues created 106 chances and quite incredibly missed 70 of those. While Tammy Abraham made a brilliant start to life last season, the youngster missed 22 of his 31 big chances, which is an alarming sign. No wonder the club has sought to bring in Timo Werner. This issue was evident throughout the whole campaign, yet you wonder if Lampard could have done more to control this thing. Defensive liabilities. In the top half of the table, no team has conceded more goals than Chelsea. The Blues conceded 54 goals this season across all competitions, and on average, they conceded at least 2 in a game 23 times. This is quite an alarming sign. Chelsea's defence has never been this frail. Kepa Arrizabalaga arrived at Stamford Bridge for quite a lot of money, but the Spaniard is prone to errors and contributed a lot to the aforementioned statistic. He only saved 54% of the shots he faced, which is not a good number for a keeper who plays in a team that aims to win everything. The game against Bayern Munich serves as a template for the team's defensive ailings. It was just too easy for the likes of Serge Gnabry and Robert Lewandowski to make a mockery of the Chelsea defence. Many times the Polish striker was given space to do whatever he wanted. This is something we've witnessed quite a lot throughout the campaign. Since Roman Abramovich arrived, no Chelsea manager has had a worse defensive record than Frank Lampard, which can only mean that there is a serious issue that has to be addressed, and Lampard might not be afforded a lot of time to do so. Take for instance Sarri. The Italian might not have been given a lot of respect in London, but at least during his time Chelsea were far more defensively assured. While Lampard averaged 1.53 goals a game, Sarri's 1.06 goals a game meant that the defenders were doing something right. Lampard preferred his defenders playing the high line this season, which can create problems, especially if teams hit them on the counter. While this summer the club will be buying defensive reinforcements, their manager needs to get his tactics right. All in all, there's no denying that Frank Lampard has done really well in his first season in charge at the club. However, there are a lot of issues that need to be addressed before putting your money on the former England international. Chelsea isn't a club known for its patience. Carlo Ancelotti won the Premier League but was still sacked. Mourinho arrived for the second time but was dismissed. Luis Felipe Scolari wasn't given enough time. So how can Frank Lampard be expected to be treated any different? There are glaring issues and problems within the squad and the manager, given that he is a young manager at the moment. But being youthful as a manager would not be given much of a thought by the club's management if Chelsea failed to do well next season after already making 2 really big signings in the shape of Hakim Ziyech and Timo Werner.